Could this Revell 71442 be the best kit of the year? Well, I don't know, but it looks awful nice from what I've seen of it. Anyway, I'm going to get this thing opened up, go through it with you guys, and show you why you should get this Revell 442. All right. Man, this box is packed full of stuff. I've heard nothing but good about this kit. Let's get everything out of here and see what we got. Wow, very cool. I don't know if I'll get it all back in there. It's so full of stuff. Start off with the instructions. Revell instructions tells a little bit about the car, which I always like. Again, for every single number, it tells you exactly what the part is. Very cool for learning your car parts. A lot of guys might think that's kind of corny, but I know I liked it when I was a kid. Looks like this is going to be a very highly detailed kit. Looking at a lot of parts there. Let's dive into these instructions. Engine, everything looks straightforward. Looks like it's going to be an easy build. Just by the engine. You can tell a lot just by right here, by the first page of the instructions on how it's going to go. Very clear. I like seeing clear instructions. It's like we can go with a couple different ride heights maybe. I don't know. We'll find out when we dive into this. I don't know how I'm going to build this yet. I don't know if I'm going to stick it in the weeds, have it abandoned. I know I've always wanted to build one of these cars. I've always liked them in real life too. And that's coming from a Mopar guy. I've always loved these 442s. I'm a wing guy. I always thought the wing was cool on it. And this is what I also like, is that hood. I always thought those vents on that hood was really cool. Very clear instructions. Mirrors are separate, which is nice. Decal placement. Looks like a very promising kit. Let's see what we got here for parts. First thing's glass. Glass is thin, very clear. There's your headlights, tail lights. Looks very nice. Chrome tree. Okay. Front grille and bumper and everything looks very nice. Wheels. That's nice how the rear bumper is. That was a cool thing about this car, is that huge rear bumper, how it just surrounded the tail lights. And of course we just saw the tail lights a moment ago. They'll pop in from behind, I'm assuming. Nice looking chrome tree. Let's check out this body. Check out the body. Check out the body. I'm excited about this car. Okay. Very nice looking body. That looks nice. Everything looks correct. Got your wheel well lip moldings, or just the way the body is. Very nice. Everything looks nice and crisp. That looks good. Your vents. I like how this looks. Here's the tires. Tires look good. Nice tread pattern. Alright. Here's the interior pan. And of course for the inside of the engine compartment. All one piece, which makes it really nice. I like that build up, because then your door panels can go right there with a nice spot to locate it, which makes for a nice build. Seats look nice. Look like they have some nice detail. Your seat backs. It looks like that's a convertible boot. So they may be coming out with a convertible on this. That might be my guess. There's your rear spoiler. visors for the interior. There's those mirrors. Looks like we have two different consoles, probably one for an automatic, one for a stick shift. Yep, there's your pedals. And everything's looking nice. I like these parts. They look very nice. What else we got here? Ah, there's that hood I like. I love that hood. Always like that hood on this car. Those look like hood hinges, which is really cool, so you can display it with the hood up. And the hood even has some nice detail underneath. There's the heads and part of the engine, exhaust manifolds. Some more engine parts. Everything looks nice. All your hosing. Those belts look nice and thin. There's your two transmissions, your automatic and your 4-speed. Remember riding in one of these cars back in high school. A buddy of mine had one, and it was always fun running around in that car, man, and it was fast. It's like we got two different rear ends. Yep, there's our two rear ends. So that's your choice on the instructions. You have a choice of which rear end you want to go with. Let me know down below if you've ever ridden in one of these cars, because man, they are fast. I like that exhaust. That exhaust is nice, very realistic. It's not too thick, very nice and thin. Nice exhaust. Of course, there's the underneath. Nice detail. Very nice. And of course, that exhaust will go right on there. And this looks very impressive. Different striping, all your wood grain. Remember them older cars had that cool fake wood grain inside? Of course, your stripes for the sides. Tire decals. 442 decals. I like it. Very nice. Very nice. Got started by gluing my halves together, but there's a few things I wanted to point out before we get started. You got a couple choices you got to make. Right here, you got to decide if you're going to go with an automatic or a manual transmission, which are these right here. And of course, it goes here automatic or manual with your two consoles. You choose which one you're going to use. And your pedals, which are right here. So just something to be aware of before you get started on this. And then also, when you're putting the underneath together, this piece right here, which is right there, and he's either going to go in that hole or that hole. So just something to be aware of when you're working on that. And then for your rear end, you have two different rear ends to choose from, and they're right here. And they distinguish between each other by your differential covers, so you can't really get it wrong. But just a few things to be aware of as you're going through this. Other than that, it's very self-explanatory, so you can't mess up. But just be aware of if you're going with a automatic or a stick on those. After I went through the instructions and circled everything on an automatic or a stick, I started gluing up my halves, got my engine going. That engine builds up really nice. I sat there and looked at the body for a while, and I was trying to decide which route I'm going to go with this. I got 2 or 3 or 4 color schemes in mind. The body's very clean, but right here, and of course on the other side, you got a very sharp line that you need to knock down just a little bit with a sanding stick. Other than that, the body's very clean. it's going to build up very nice. If you're going to add the rear spoiler, you have to drill out 2 little holes in the deck lid, and I'll show you where those are. They're right there. You flip the body over and it'll show you. There's your 2 brackets that hold on the rear spoiler. I drilled mine out. Little pin vise just drills it out, and your spoiler will just jump right in there. The firewall builds up really nice. This brake master cylinder, oh my gosh, that is just a beautiful piece. To dechrome everything, I dechromed a few things. The bumpers, I put it in my little purple power pond. That's my purple power I use for my little pond. And after about an hour, everything was dechromed. Pulled everything out, dried it, and those are going to be ready to rechrome myself. Tires and wheels, there's those. They go on with a pin. Very nice piece to go on. The pin goes in them little holes. There's the pin. Started working on the engine and transmission. There's my favorite steel to do a transmission, and I use that same steel to paint the exhaust and drive shaft. Switched over to the exhaust manifolds. There's my favorite rust to paint those. Those are always rusty and dirty looking. Here's a cool little chart that I found, a color chart for that Oldsmobile. Nice thing about this car, there's gobs of pictures on the internet to help you out for reference material. Tons of color charts and everything. I picked a couple colors. I was wanting to go with maybe that green or maybe this darker red. Love that red. That is so cool. Switched over back to the engine, looking at some engine pictures, and I decided to mix up my own blue to paint the engine. I thought it'd come out pretty close to the factory color. Close enough at least for a model. Working on the rear end, getting that together. There's a neat little overhead shot of some action on the bench. Pretty busy little bench. Again, this is a fun model to build. Got rid of my colors of testing. Got everything going black right there. And you see the body is in a primer. You probably know by the thumbnail what I did. But anyway, back to the rear spoiler. Get those little brackets put in the holes. Glue the rear spoiler onto the brackets, and you can pick that spoiler up as one whole piece after it's dry and spray it. There it is. I clipped it on to a clip, took it outside, and spray bombed it. Easy as that. And that's the primer I used to do the spoiler and the body. So it's kind of in a, I'm going to call it a hot rod gray primer. And after you primer something, you kind of got to smooth out the primer. There's the sheet of sandpaper I used to smooth everything out. Then I found this blue at the hobby shop, and I thought, man, I could have used that blue for the engine. I love that metallic blue from Tamiya, an X13. It is absolutely gorgeous. Well, there's my color scheme. I'm going with an old-fashioned hot rod, cruising around town with the door jambs and trunk lid with a little overspray showing through. I love that look. Have you ever seen that look before back in the day? And it brings back a lot of great memories for me, especially back in the 80s, seeing hot rods cruising around. There I shot my front and rear bumper gloss black. There's the black I used. And I shot it with my favorite chrome. The green tree chrome. Love that stuff. There's a little highlight of where I'm heading with this hot rod. Working on the pulleys and belt system. And there's my favorite rubber paint I like to use. And I like to use that rubber on several things in the engine compartment, such as the belts and the hoses. After all, they all rubber, just not flat black. That's that rubber black. That's definitely great to use. There's my favorite turn signal and brake light colors to use for models. For the running lights on the side there. There I put the red in the back and the orange in the front. There it is. Don't forget that front bumper too, to put the orange in for the turn signals. And I love to use this wash. This wash is it's a water soluble wash, and there's a reference picture for the grill area. But anyway, I like to put that wash on things such as the grill, use a little bit of the wash on the engine compartment, and I ran that wash down the door jambs to bring out the door jamb lines and the trunk lid lines. Like to use that marker there on the rear tail lights. You just take that red Sharpie marker, color the underneath of the lights, and you have tail lights that look like the real thing. Putting the glass in, that went in super easy. Little trick on putting the glass in. I always like to lay a little tape on there to hold the glass while I glue it. That way it doesn't move and you don't get any smudges. There's my favorite tape to use. The Tamiya tape, love it. If you don't have it, I highly recommend it. There's another picture of the glass being taped in. Started on the chassis. I started weathering it a little bit. After it was painted to black, I started off with those pencils and then ran with a little bit of pigment powders. Getting this thing ready and kind of dusted and dirtied up a little bit. Here's some real pictures of a chassis to give you an idea if you want to rust one up. Again, lots of reference material out there. There's the rear spoiler put on there. I'm really liking how this is looking. Kind of mocking everything up. You see that rear end's raised. Interior pictures. Lots of interior pictures on the internet. Decided to go with a white like I saw here. There's all them wood grains. All that wood grain comes on your decal sheet, and the decals are wonderful. Started off spraying my panels black, and then used that white and started spraying everything white. The side panels clip in. You see those two clips down there underneath? They clip right in, so you cannot mess up on how the side panels go onto the bottom piece there. And then the dash just clips right in. The front panel clips right in that holds the radiator. That excellent build and model. There's a nice picture of the chassis and the interior. A little weathering going on. Like to play Jenga blocks as I'm getting ready to go to bed so things can dry up. And the next morning I decided to get this thing legal. Let's plate it and insure it. Cut out the license plates, and I like to glue on the plates with that glue right there. You don't decal the plates, you just kind of glue them on after you cut them off. Gives it a bit of a more realistic thickness appearance. And there it is. I'm legal. Legal beagle. Ready to go cruising with plates. All we got to do is get the insurance. True story. Wife came in when I was doing this, and she goes, "What are you doing?" I'm stacking things up and hoping they don't fall. But I got everything stacked up, getting a little weight on the chassis so it can all dry overnight. And here's some more internet pictures of some reference pictures of the engine compartment, obviously. Lots of pictures on the internet on building this model. Another great reason to build this thing. Oh, see them, those inner fender wells? Yes, they are red. If you want to do a vinyl top, there's some vinyl top pictures. And voila, we've got a high school, hot rod, fun, built car that some kid's cruising around in, having a blast, working a restaurant job or something, saving his money, getting ready to hopefully get a cool blue paint job on this bad boy someday. With the high school hot rod look, I added my own tires and wheels. It's kind of some cool mags that you'd see in high school, and I raised that rear end up so the kit doesn't come with that. And I added that cool chrome air filter. Man, you always had one of them in high school to look cool. High school looking cool. What a fun build. Highly recommend this kit. Goes together great. Thanks, Revell. This is another knockout kit. This should be kit of the year. I'm telling you, it's nice. We'll see you guys on the next video on Throttle Power.